So after I mentioned epigenetics in my last video about the risk factors for BPD, I received several requests to do a video with more information about that topic. So here we go. According to the CDC, epigenetics refers to how your behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work, the way they show up or express themselves in who you are and how you behave. So it's important to understand that we're not talking about changing genes or DNA. What we're talking about are genetic expressions, not genetic mutations. So unlike genetic mutations, it's believed that epigenetic changes are reversible and don't change the sequence of DNA bases, but they can change how your body reads a DNA sequence. Let's look at a couple of terms to make this clearer. Genotype and phenotype. So genotype is your specific genetic makeup, your unique sequence of DNA. It's your genetic inheritance. Phenotype, on the other hand, refers to your observable characteristics resulting from the interaction of your genotype with your environment. So genotype speaks to your actual genes, genotype, genes, and phenotype speaks to the physical expression of those genes. Phenotype, physical. It's the way that I have remembered that since school. So think about a set of identical twins. Even though they have the same genes, the same genotype, they may grow to look physically different. Their DNA is the same, but the physical expression of the genes, the phenotype, is somewhat different. So hopefully that helps you understand the distinction between the two. Now, when it comes to genetics, a person can be born with a genetic predisposition for a particular condition or ailment, but may or may not express it phenotypically. So just because you're born with that tendency doesn't mean that it's going to show up, whatever it is. In other words, they may or may not develop the condition. Now, this is where we believe that epigenetics comes in, meaning external factors such as diet, environment, lifestyle can influence which genes are turned on and off, which affects the functioning of our brains and bodies. When it comes to BPD, it's believed that genetics create a risk factor for the disorder. They can. Sometimes these families, it doesn't run in families, but genetics can create a risk factor. Research tells us that BPD often does run in families, though. For example, there's a heritability rate of about 30 to 40% when it comes to BPD. Also, we more often see the presence of BPD in primary relatives of those with BPD. Some theorists believe that the genetic argument is enough to explain the presence of BPD within families. We just pass this down through the gene pool. The epigenetic argument, though, would say that the phenotype of BPD, the expression of the disorder, requires that genetic predisposition plus a triggering event. For example, we know that children who grow up in chaotic or unstable environments often experience disruptions in the development of their brain's emotional regulation system. The epigenetic argument for the development of BPD in that person, then, would be that the environment activated the expression of the BPD gene they were born with. So long story short, the epigenetic argument is that external factors can influence gene expression, whether certain features or conditions show up in a person. What do you think about epigenetics? Drop your comments below and let's chat about this a little bit.